Hello, everybody. Buddy with Midland, Texas. This morning I woke up and I saw a message on Facebook on Private Messenger about the Hailey Dunn story, and it had some interesting information in it. This is a brand new person that I just recently met, whole nother person, and so I created a Facebook post on it. I copied and pasted it and posted my Facebook, and then I went over some of the Hailey Dunn case evidence. If you're not familiar with this, you're going to find this amazing. It's just over the top lawlessness is what it is. I mean, it's truly horrific. What's going on here, being allowed to go on. So I'm going to start here. Hailey Dunn conversation from this morning. Brand new stuff. This is new person who was confirming what I'd already documented multiple other people saying. There is no doubt in my mind that law enforcement has been involved in trying to cover up the murder of this child and allow her killers to remain free to do this again. And here's the person I said they sent, because I kept this person anonymous. The Hailey deal was already finished. Mom's boyfriend, last link, other 2 life in prison, already unrelated charges, sealed testimony that made sure they will never get out for their part in the deal. And the last was tied to tracks in Odessa, and he caught the train. But you're right about the Odessa part. Be careful on that one, though. It is done different. Bigger group responsible for the finished cleanup. But yeah, mom and boyfriend sold her for 3.5 grams of meth. At least that's what I heard from the one who died on the tracks before he was killed, and still don't know who did that, but do know the boyfriend still has to go to trial, and no need to get that stirred up and him get off on some bullshit, that sorry ass prick. Okay. I know, there wasn't a lot of punctuation, grammar, so it's hard to read. But basically, the person that died on tracks, that was Kevin Coker, okay? I think he was connected with them Aryan Brotherhoods over in Odessa. Same people's names come up over and over and over again, okay? And I believe Kevin Rickman might have been connected. I don't think he was I didn't think he got his double life in prison because of that, but I think there was a connection to that Coker murder where they broke his knees, drugged him up, put him on the train track, set him on fire, and let him get hit by a train. That's what happened to Coker. That's what they're talking about. And that's what this guy says that Coker told him before he died, okay? I said, and then the next message was, from the same person. They were shooting the poor girl up with heroin, talking about Hailey Dunn, and speed, and having sex with her, and they accidentally OD'd her, overdosed her, and panicked. And the dude said he felt so bad about her overdose. I'm like, what the crap? The rape of a 12-year-old didn't hit a nerve, but all of them were junkies. The shit that happened to you, a whole more sinister deal, amigo. And then now I could get killed over that info. So between us, yes. And then, that's what he's saying. He's sharing this information. I guess Coker shared with him, and, wanting me to keep him private, keep him anonymous because, it's dangerous. And I understand that these are dangerous criminals. And then the police corruption, what makes it worse, if we had good guys and bad guys, then we could trust the good guys. But it doesn't seem like we have good guys and bad guys. We have bad guys and bad guys. And some of the bad guys are wearing badges and guns, and then they're covering up murders of children. That's what it looks like to me. Yeah, I want y'all to look at it and make up your own mind. Okay. And then so I said my connection to the Hailey Dunn case started on January 14th, 2013, when I wrote the Department of Justice and suggested they send somebody here to look in the underground homes for clues in the disappearance of Hailey. And 2 days later, her remains were found in Scurry County. She'd been missing for over 2 years. I've now documented via recording, screenshots, and messages about 10 people saying that Hailey was killed in Odessa, which includes who, where, when, and how. That's Ector County. As you know, they arrested Sean Atkins, but none of those people said that he was there when she died. But I suspected that he was doing the meth with the stripper mom, Billy Dunn, and knew where Hailey was at. Several people have said that Hailey was at the home of former Odessa police officer Jackie Thompson's house, and I believe that to be true as well. Okay. And then my next message sent on there said, I was told that the stripper mom, Billy Dunn, was taking Hailey to the strip clubs with her, so it makes sense that she took her to the oil show parties too, which would place Billy and Hailey in my backyard in the underground home in October 2010. And the people there at that parties don't want anybody to find out that this famous missing murdered child, Hailey Dunn, was there with them 2 months before she went missing. That's what I'm telling him, okay? And this guy writes back and says, "You are onto something there, amigo. Jackie is a piece of shit." And he's talking about Jackie Thompson, the former Odessa police officer that ended up going to jail. The news said that he confessed to moving 500 pounds of meth or something like that. Okay, so I took that conversation from this morning, okay, and I want to show you here. That's not just me writing stuff. I mean, I got a print screen. I took a print screen of this conversation because this is new information on the Hailey Dunn murder, okay, murder of a child, real important. Killers are still free out there preying on her, the predators preying on her children and your grandchildren. To this day, they're probably looking at some child going, I wonder how I can rape and murder this kid and which cops are going to help me. I mean, that's what I'm thinking, right? And so here, let's look at my first one. I said, this is the copy of the email that I sent to the Department of Justice on March 14, 2013, suggesting they send somebody here to look in the underground homes, and 2 days later, the remains of Hailey Dunn were found in Scurry County. Now, there's 10 people documented saying that Hailey was killed in Odessa, which is Ector County. It looks like they dug up Hailey and moved her remains because of my email. Interestingly, the remains of Hailey were found by a guy named Curtis Lloyd, and I would later find out that his parents lived next door to a home in Midland where the owners had been reporting people in the attic. This made me wonder if Curtis was connected with the crime ring and he was somehow chosen to go find the remains of Hailey because I'd sent that email to law enforcement. Okay, so here's a copy of the email. It's a print screen. It's dated March 14, 2013. 2 days later, the remains of Hailey are found in Scurry County, okay? And you can see my name's Buddy Webb, okay? I have overwhelming evidence to support the allegation of the underground facility. Just go look at Google Maps. All kinds of people documented. I talk about I found a child's toy in my attic on top of the HVAC filter. I suspected child sex trafficking. I believe these slavers are using children to make money. I believe that these same slavers could be the same people that kidnapped Hailey Dunn. Maybe she's being held by these slavers, these sex slavers behind below my home right now. That's what I wrote to the Department of Justice. I suspect there has been other murders which can be tied directly to these people in this underground facility. Keep in mind when this happened, that 2 days later that the remains of Hailey are found, and when I'm suggesting they come look in the underground homes here. And also, it was a year before this where I'm ambushed and shot by somebody under my home. It's now proven that police were under my home that night, okay? Whole different story, but connected. Okay. Here's my next comment. I mentioned Hailey Dunn in the video called Midland, Texas Tunnels and Crime Part 3. And a drug rehab counselor named Christy Otts commented under this video. As you can see here, she tells me that she got the confession for Hailey Dunn from a client in 2015. She reported this to law enforcement, but they called her crazy and ruined her life. Christy also sent me some emails, and one of them had a picture of an email between her and her supervisors at Turning Point. She is telling them that a guy named Brett Bushman had confessed to being involved in 3 homicides, including burying a child in a safe. She said Brett was affiliated, which means a gang member. Christy sent me another message from her Facebook account under the name of Allison Mack and said the guy said she was traded by her mother for a drug balance of $135 worth of meth. While she was in the care of the dealer, she flipped out and they shot her up with something. She overdosed and died. The guy who confessed to me said he took her back to her mother and they stuffed her into a box. He described the way they had to bend her and break her to fit. Then they buried her on a ranch outside of Odessa. And I have a video that people can watch called The Drug Counselor Hailey Dunn Murder. That's about Christy Otts. And here's some of these print screens I got. This was the message that come in, the original message that came in February 2016 from Christy on my YouTube channel telling me she got the confession for the Hailey Dunn murder. Okay, this is from the Facebook. Her account was Allison Mack. That was Christy's account on Facebook. It's dated on February 23rd, 2016. That's what I read. There's more to it, but she says that the guy said she traded by her mother with drug balance $135. And this was the email that she sent me a copy of, and you can see it was sent to Julie Elliott, Jenny Tippett, Ramona Thomas, client confidentiality, Christy Smith, resignation doc. She was quitting her job as a drug rehab counselor over this, and she was upset, you know. And she said, I never said I was afraid of Brett Bushman. But since he did have a hand in stuffing a child's body inside of a safe, I'm just reading parts of that, right? And then she goes on telling them his confession of involvement in 3 separate homicides, and then considering his organizational affiliation. And that's what I'm saying. Organizational affiliated means that it's drug members, okay? And that's what she's telling them there. Christy told me she went to the police and the FBI. They called her crazy, ruined her life. Okay. In 2012, News West 9 reported about a letter that was sent by Sonia Renee Callahan saying that she'd witnessed a girl matching the description of Hailey overdosed at a home over in Odessa. She said it was over a family drug debt. Once again, law enforcement called Sonia crazy. Are you seeing the pattern here? Remember, they called me crazy too, you know? I mean, that's the pattern, how they cover up crimes and murders. In 2016, Sonia called me, and I secretly recorded her describing the moment that Hailey died. Her story hadn't changed in 4 years. She said, buddy, what was I supposed to do? It was either her in my life or just hers. She calls out the names of these alleged gang members at the end of this phone call, and I have a link to it called Child Killers. That is the phone call secretly recorded, and then this is a link to the News West 9 story that was talked about in 2012. You know, Sonia Callahan wrote a letter. Young girl matching Hailey Dunn's description was overdosed, died. It was sparked from a drug deal, went horribly wrong. Hailey was supposedly used as collateral for a drug debt the teen's family owed. Remember, it's the same story over and over and over. It's different people saying the same thing. Okay. I had recognized that Sonia Renee Callahan was saying the same thing as drug rehab counselor Christy Otts told me that Brett Bushman had said, and I created my first Hailey Dunn video called Hailey Dunn Murder Confession. This went viral and got a lot of people talking. That was when Taryn Thomas posted on my Facebook, well, I think it's safe to say that we all know that her mom, stepdad, as well as Hailey were on dope. And Julie Brindle said, I heard a similar but slightly different version from a friend who talked to the man that said he did it. Okay. Taryn then says they had Hailey for a good while. Hailey knew who had her, and it wasn't a hostage situation. People said that they heard people had gone to the house while she was there, and she was walking around like it was her house. But what was weird is I heard from more than 10 people that they shaved her head like 2 weeks before she supposedly overdosed. Why shave her head if you aren't trying to hide her? Now, supposedly, she was buried in that same house's backyard. That's what Taryn Thomas told me. About a month before this, a private investigator named Brenda Paradise had told me, I had also heard that when Hailey was found, the remains had no hair, which would mean that the body was removed or that she'd shaved her head, right? And then I went on and I said, other people would later tell me it was true about Hailey shaving her head, okay? And so then, once again, it's not Buddy said, she said. I got the print screen. That's exactly what I said Taryn Thomas said was a quote from this print screen of exactly what Taryn Thomas said. And when I said that's what Brenda Paradise told me, that's exactly what Brenda Paradise told me. There's the proof, okay? You think law enforcement might want to see that, right? I was then told about a phone call that was posted to Blog Talk Radio, which was between a Hailey Dunn blogger and a woman named Allison Frazier. I consider this call the tell-all about what happened to Hailey. She says that her baby daddy was a gang member named Kevin Rickman, or Birdie, that's his gang member name, who is now doing life in prison, and he told her how they kidnapped Hailey because the mom owed money on a drug debt. The same story again. They took her to Odessa and was pimping her out before she overdosed. She also said that Hailey was buried in the backyard of former Odessa police officer Jackie Thompson's house for a while. Allison named the people that kidnapped Hailey with many details, such as what she was wearing, etc. This screenshot was from a woman asked Allison on Facebook if she was the person on the phone call. Now, I have a link to that video. I encourage everybody to listen to this video. Another tell why and where, but mostly who. That's where Allison's talking to the blogger. It's incredible. then the Samantha Everett, she sees on my Facebook and goes, Allison, are you the same person on that phone call? And she says, yeah, she says, it's sad that people had to hear that during the time police were called and when she's alive, but nobody heard us, And then, and I said, it's an honorable and brave thing for you to speak up, and not everybody will do that. Thank you, Allie. I appreciate that, And she replies, she said, she says, they just thought we was messed up on meth, which we were. But now that I've been sober for over 3 years and my story hasn't changed, what's their excuse now? Hailey could have been saved if the cops just listened. I don't care who sees this, because anybody that thinks it's okay with what happened to her is a punk and can rot in hell. That's what Allison's writing on my Facebook page. And then she goes on here and it was Samantha says, Allie, I think you should speak up and let your voice be heard. And Allie says, they know who they are, and they are probably reading this right now, and I don't care who they are. And I don't care. I hope they are reading it. I just want to ask them, how does it make you feel now? How do grown men get off with a child? How do you feel now knowing that if it got back to the right people, that you wouldn't walk this earth? How do you feel knowing you did that to a child your own kid's age? Y'all are sick, and I wish you well on your judgment day, because everyone that condones what happened to Hailey Dunn will need mercy if you didn't give that girl. Hope you all burn in hell. I don't believe she will have justice here on earth because too many people are involved, but you better believe that baby will have justice in heaven. Okay, I guarantee you, I'm 100% convinced Allison was telling the truth. Okay, and yeah, like I said, listen to that phone call. She's just one of many people. Brandy Dunn contacted me on private messenger and told me that Hailey was killed at the home of Brooke Owensby in Odessa, who's the girlfriend of Cody Mercer. Okay, Cody was found murdered, outside of Odessa. She told me that the murder of Hailey and the murder of Cody was recorded, and that the police have the recordings. This was confirmed by several other people, including Jessica Lee Hadley, that said it was absolutely true, and they were disgusted. And I bet it was, And Allison told me she watched the one of Cody being murdered, and it was disgusting. I'll say that, So here's Brandy Dunn right here. Yeah, I know, And so once again, what I'm saying is, it's not Buddy said, Brandy said. I got a print screen of exactly what, Brandy, she said. She said there's a video of it. The cops have it. I said, there's a video of what? Hailey's murder? Yes. It was the video of Cody's murder. So the cops have both of them. Okay. And then, here's Jessica. And yes, that's correct. The videotape, the whole thing is disgusting. And it's absolutely true. Okay. How many people do you need? This just absurd lawlessness is what's going on with our murdered children. I recorded yet another woman who told me that her close friend was at the home in Odessa where Hailey had been overdosed. She had also called out the same gang members' names that others had called out, and told me that it wasn't $135 of meth, as Christy had said, Brett said, but $130 worth. Well, now we know, right? Okay, we had a mistake of $5. I've kept her anonymous because she's afraid for her life due to the crimes of police corruption. I can't blame her. I posted some of this phone call in this video called Hailey Dunn Killed Over a Family Drug Debt. And then I have a transcript here. This is within the phone call here. And she's telling me, she says, I can tell you that so-and-so, Letty was what it was, lived in Big Spring. She's a big-time lady. And she made it very clear to these guys that she was tired of people taking advantage of her, and that the murder of Hailey Dunn, would be an example of what would happen if these sons of bitches didn't come up with some money. And I'm talking about Hailey. And then it says, over $130 that girl was killed. Christy Otts told me that Brad Bushman says $135. So that word would get out. Look here, all you sons of bitches. If I'm going to do this for $130, it's going to be a woman's daughter. Don't think you won't be had for the $5,000 you owe me, or how much ever everybody owes. Okay. And I said, who all did you hear was there? And she names names. Max Mace was one of them. Here says, so-and-so is in charge, and then I was blanking out these names, but it's in the phone call. You can hear it in the phone call. It was them same gang members' names. And she's talking about her friend asked her, she said, when I have to stand in front of God, do you think he's going to forgive me? And she said, did you have anything to do with it? And he says, no, but I was there. I could have stopped it. And she said he was crying when he told her that. He says, how could you have stopped it? He says, I could have shot the son of a bitch. I'm going to before it's all over. And he's talking about Max Mays. and says that's eating him up inside because he apparently witnessed everything that happened. And she told me that they went down to law enforcement, Ector County law enforcement, and reported that they got that on file. Okay. Here's the next one. Okay, on October 15, 2017, Melissa Raina Campbell contacted me on Facebook message under Angel Cherry and said that she believed Hailey Dunn was murdered at 6619 Cloudcroft, her home in Odessa. She also told me that she had two cousins that worked for MDD and that she believed her life was in total jeopardy. That was her words. I emailed the entire conversation. She didn't want me to say anything. I emailed her entire conversation to Midland Chief of Police Seth Herman, and then a few months later, I find out Melissa is dead, and she was afraid. This is one print screen from this long conversation. There's a whole bunch of stuff in this print screen that law enforcement got. Okay, and she's going, Hailey Dunn. She was actually buried in between two buildings going out to Gardendale. Okay, on a private building lot in between Odessa and Kermit. But as I said, I know that baby girl was given a hot shot inside my trailer in the back room by no other than Brandy Dunn. Remember, Brandy's the one that contacted me, right? She's the one who told me about the videos. I said she's given a hot shot by Brandy? Yes. I said, I thought you said that David Manning gave her the hot shot. Was told to give the shot by David. Brandy was with David Manning. I said, I was told that Letty's the person ordered by two people. See, I'm getting different stories, different people. So was Hailey's mom, okay, which is Billy Dunn. She was also with David Manning for a minute. Taggart has known Brandy her whole life, helped raise her. Do you see how it all ties to Brandy? And Brandy lived in my trailer at 6619 Cloudcroft, Odessa, Texas with me. And I believe that trailer later burned to the ground, okay, over in Odessa where she's saying that Hailey was killed at. And then Tisha Brumley told me that her niece lived down the street from Raina and that she saw and talked to Hailey twice before she died. She said that she went back over there and they had put Hailey in a septic tank before moving her to Big Springs. She said the other home that she saw Hailey at was at the former Odessa police officer Jackie Thompson's house, and I wondered if that was where the septic tank was located, since Allison said that Hailey had been buried in his backyard. Jackie's sister told me that if they find any remains, Hailey's remains there, well, then he didn't know about it, and I've got the print screen on that. Okay, so then this was just a print screen that I'm showing where Tisha is telling me about her niece. And there's been several people tell me about Tisha's niece over there, scared to death these people are going to kill her because of these gang members and this police corruption that's helping them murder children, okay? A neighbor told me that this guy's girlfriend, this is the next one. A neighbor told me that this guy's girlfriend, Courtney McDuffie, told her aunt that he said he was involved in Hailey's murder. So I sent his picture to Allison, and she told me that he was there on the night that Hailey died, too. I believe his name is Woodgrain C.J. Haynes. And I'm guessing Woodgrain's another one of them nicknames that them gang members have, like Birdie or Plastic and all them names. My neighbor was also afraid of those gang members and the police corruption helping them. She didn't want me to don't tell anybody I told you this. Everybody says that. Don't tell me. I'm afraid of these people. They're dangerous. They'll kill you, and the police will help them. That's what that's going on. And this is where I sent this picture to Allison right here. Here's this guy, Woodgrain, and this girl, Courtney, and there's an email supposedly where there's admission to being there involved over in Odessa in the murder of Hailey Dunn that I got a feeling law enforcement never ever checked on. What do you want to bet? Two people told me that Billy Dunn, the mother of Hailey, was a stripper when Hailey was reported missing. And as seen here, one of them told me that she'd been taking Hailey to the strip clubs with her. It makes sense that all of the strippers in the area were working at the infamous oil show parties in 2010. They're big money makers, which would put Billy and or Hailey in the underground homes here 2 months before she went missing. I have a feeling that the wealthy oil men there don't want anybody to find this out. I said, these are the parties where my friend Angie told me about another young girl being murdered because she didn't want a prostitute, and I wondered if that was somebody Hailey knew. And in 2013, the remains of a 14 to 21-year-old black girl was found outside of Midland. That's who I've long suspected it was. And then, so I wondered if Billy and Hailey were there also at the same parties where the little girl was murdered at. Okay. And in the backyard, in the underground homes, put in for the Bushes, 1987, cost $7.35 million. All these many people documented saying here. You can see them on Google Maps. I showed Homeland Security where the tunnel was going to the home. They poured concrete 2 weeks later. Whole story about that. Okay, but that's what I'm sitting here trying to figure all this out. Angie was afraid to report the murder of that little girl and said high-level police were at the parties, which would put them there with Billy and Hailey Dunn if they were there. Okay. Here's some more print screens because, once again, it's not Buddy said, she said. I'm taking print screens and recording phone calls here, this is hard evidence, can be used in court. This is stuff that real law enforcement could be investigating, right? And here, this comes from the Hope from Hailey Dunn admin named Stacy, who's a friend of Billy Dunn's. And she's confirming that Billy was a stripper during that time. Keep in mind, while she was stripping, it was a third job because Clint didn't work. She's a nurse. She was doing secretarial work and stripping. So she's making an excuse. She was making an excuse for Billy being the stripper at the time. And I'm not down on strippers or any of that. That's a perfectly legal profession and all that. I am down on strippers that take their 13-year-old little girl to the strip club with them. I got a problem with that, okay? And we all should. Okay, and then this Janice Freeman driver says, "Now, Buddy, I heard that about Billy from a very reliable source. Now, she's a stripper, and that Hailey was going with her as well, but staying in the dressing room while Billy Dunn worked the pole. Stripper mom, Billy Dunn." Okay, and then this one was interesting from Mikhail Morales, and he told me, he says, "I was told she was pimped out by her father's oil field workers. Okay, she was pimped out to her father's oil field workers. I was told that the father would give up to $500 a trick." Okay, and I said that would not surprise me, as one person told me that Clint was there. Both parents know that both parents know things they're not saying. The mom was a stripper at the time. Did you see this video? And he goes on and says, "I was even told she would take it upon herself to make money without the father, that she would go out there." The 13-year-old was doing the prostitution on her own. Okay. More print screen. This one is very recent. I've never put this in a video. And I said, just a few weeks ago, Brandy Bennett wrote on my YouTube channel, "Was that girl mixed or light skinned? Because there's supposed to be one scene in the background of a Hailey old show party murder video showing her freaking out and being restrained with a hand covering her mouth and a woman giving her a shot." Okay, she's talking about the young black girl that was believed to be murdered at the underground oil show party. That's what she's asking. And she's telling me that there's a video, okay? And I bet that video might have been used to blackmail people, You need to shut up or we're sending you to jail because you were at a sex party with Hailey Dunn, or whatever. Don't be reporting this, or whatever, okay? Here we go. Earlier this year, they arrested Sean Atkins, national news, for the murder of Hailey Dunn. Sean was the boyfriend of the mother of Billy Dunn. Okay, but none of them 10 people said Sean was there, okay, when she died. In late June, I called the Mitchell County DA's office to let them know that I documented this large group of people with information on the murder of Hailey, but they didn't answer the phone and I got a voicemail. Okay, nothing wrong with that. The problem is I left a message while recording it for proof and they never called me back. That was in June. 10 people documented with information on the murder of a child, and they never called me back. Let that sink in. That is what our law enforcement is doing. About a week later, I got a call from a lady who I believe to be Sean's aunt that asked me if I would share this information with his attorney, and I agreed, but once again, I never got a call back. Now, that's real fishy because this attorney for Sean should be getting all this information, what's gonna clear his client. Okay, it looks like law enforcement is still trying to cover up the murder of this 13-year-old little girl and allow her child killers to remain free to prey on our children. It's lawlessness. And if you don't believe that I called the Mitchell County DA's office, here's the phone call that I recorded. So anyway, I just give you an update on the Hailey Dunn case that I got new messages today about what's going on. And it was more confirmation upon confirmation upon confirmation, just like it's lawlessness upon lawlessness upon lawlessness. Buddy Webb, Midland, Texas.